All right, so we've got our base model. Now what I want to do is we're going to, we have the base Z-sphere, but you can see like it doesn't have all the features that we need. I'm actually just going to model the face. The reason for that is because you could apply the same principles to the rest of it, but I don't want to go through and have to model everything. So I'm just going to concentrate just on the head, basically, so it'll be a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so if we were to look at our model currently as it stands, come on, you going to do it? There we go. Okay. Currently as it stands, I cannot, if I hit Shift F, or you can hit Polyframe over here, you can see the wireframe doesn't really support the sculpture, right? So I can do, all that I want to try and sculpt this, but there's just not enough geometry. Now, we have two ways that we can go about doing this. I can go to geometry, and I could subdivide it. And that would work to some extent, but I'm still always going to be dealing with the same topology, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subdivide it, let's say 1, 2, let's do 3. Okay, so now it's really smooth. But instead of trying to sculpt it from here, because even though I can do this, you can see like it doesn't have the form, it doesn't have enough geometry in order to support what I want to do. So I'm going to use instead is Dynamesh. So I'm going to go ahead and polysmooth it first, so that way when it Dynameshes it, it will be smooth. I'm going to go down to Dynamesh, open this up, and then let's try 128 to start with. That's probably good enough. Let's hit Dynamesh. And yes. Ah, crap. Did it? Alright, let's undo that. Okay, so we got to hit delete lower first. Sorry. Now we will hit Dynamesh. There we go. And yeah, that 128 looks pretty good. This is a good start, at least. I'm probably going to have to up that in a little bit. But yeah, you had to delete lower. I thought it was going to automatically do it for me. I didn't want to read it because I'm American. Okay, so anyway, so we got this going on there. And I'm going to hit Shift F because I don't really need to see the wireframe. I just put that on there. I'm going to change my material by clicking on this. Clicking on this. And I'm just going to do basic material or blend. It's kind of up to you. We'll do blend. All right. And looks good. We did Dynamesh. I did that. That's fine. Trying to think of what else we need to do. I think that's it. Okay. So, there are basically two primary brushes I'm really going to need. The rest of them are gratuitous. But to get to the brushes, you can click over here and then find your brush here. But you can see it's kind of arduous. If I hit B, that's the same thing as open up that menu. And then you can hit what the next thing is. So there's B, M, and then it'll show me anything with the letter M starting. You can see we have all these ones available here. And then I want move, which happens to be B. So that will bring up move. That's one of the brushes. And that just allows me to grab it and wiggle waggle, right? Make sure you have symmetry on too. Sometimes it doesn't do it after you make it Polymesh 3D. I'm not sure why that switches, but it can occasionally happen. The other one I'm going to use is just the standard one that was already on there. So that's B, S, T, right? And then boom, now you have standard. Okay, so we have those two basically to work with. All right, now when we do our brushing, again, spacebar is for the draw size and the intensity. Make sure it's on Z add here, and not the A doesn't really matter, but make sure that it's on Z add. Okay, so that'll bring up those two things. Focal shift is the sharpness. So for instance, if I leave it like this, let's say I go really tight, you're going to see I'm going to do cut. This is good for cutting. Oops, sorry, I meant to hold Alt. You're going to see it's going to be really tight. See how it didn't go all the way to the outside edge? But if I were to take the focal shift and go out, you're going to see when I cut in, keep hitting the wrong one, it's going to go really broad. So basically it's like how it's spreading from the center, okay? So I'm just going to leave it in 0 for right now. It's probably good enough, but just be aware that that's actually what it's doing there. Now, when we go to sculpt, if I'm on standard, just brushing does this, right? If I hold Alt and brush, that will go in. So Alt's the inverse of whatever the tool is. So for sculpt, that would be going in. Now to smooth, you hold Shift, and that will smooth out what you do, okay? Shift you can also get to through the brushes, but it's easier to hold Shift. And then the last thing that's useful is Control. If I hold Control and brush, that will mask out an area, and then I can't do anything with it. The other thing that's useful with it, if I want to invert it, I can hold Control and just click out here, and it will invert the brush, or invert the mask. If you want to clear it, you hold Control, click, and drag, okay? Now, for some reason, you guys accidentally hold Control and Shift, and you do something like this. That's visibility. It's not very useful. I mean, it can be useful, but not useful to us. But just in case you run into that, It's actually kind of weird. I don't know why they don't do it the same. It's not Control Shift and click and drag. That's actually invert. It's Control Shift and click. So it's not the same as the other one. I don't know why they didn't make it the same, but for whatever reason they didn't. Don't ask me. But if you do run into that, that's why that happens. That's most of the buttons I think you need. Okay, so let's go ahead and make our head work. So I'm going to go ahead and hit BMV for the move. And I'm just going to go to the front here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make my brush a little bit bigger, and I'm going to pull this down a little. I'm just going to try and make this sort of head-shaped. A little bigger. Okay. So, let's go to the front. It's very alien-shaped. Just got to squish this in a little. Okay. All right. So we'll call that good. Now, every time that you do something, if you do something major, like let's say I want to give this guy horns or something, right? You're going to see that, if I hit Shift F, it's just stretching those polys. So to Re-Dynamesh, once you're in Dynamesh here, all you do is you hold Control, click, and drag like you're doing a mask. And it will Re-Dynamesh what you have. So now you see how it redid it there? So that's how we're going to do this. So I don't want the horns, but but you can see it's a little bit stretched here for me pulling it. So after I did that, I'm just going to hold Control, click, and drag. And it's going to Re-Dynamesh it and make it back to all, not squares, but at least even topology or even geometry and what have you. Okay? Which makes it a little bit easier. All right, so I'm just going to hit Shift F again, or you can click this. All right, so we're going to call that good. Let me whip out my pen here. Okay, so I'm going to hit BST, and I am going to just draw out a chin. Now, one of the things I don't like, you might find this useful, but see this line? See the red lines going behind it? That's a lazy mouse. I do not find that useful. I'm going to go to stroke. I'm going to go to lazy mouse. And I'm going to turn that off. Basically, you're going to see there's no line now. That just makes it so if you want to draw a nicer curve, you can make the lazy mouse stronger with the settings there. And it'll make the curve longer. And then it'll be easier to draw nicer curves. Which can be helpful if you're using a mouse or something. Or you don't have a very steady hand. But in my case, not super helpful. The other setting that will also be useful is something like this. One of the issues that you also might run into, because some of you did, is you'll go to sculpt like this, and what do you notice? It's sculpting through to the other side. What you want to do is go to Alpha. No, I'm sorry. It's Brush, Auto Masking, and you want to put on Back Face Mask. I don't know why it's not. There it goes. Click on Back Face Mask. When you do that, when I go to Sculpt, you'll see it'll leave the back faces alone. Okay? So that's brush, back face mask. Just turn that on, and that should fix that issue. Those are the two brush issues that you'll probably run into. Okay. Just want to show you that. I'm trying to think of all the pitfalls that you might run into. If you do run into anything, you need help, just email me. I can either do a quick Zoom meeting, or I can just quickly tell you, or make a quick video, or something like that. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and make this smaller, and let's get all up in here. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to go, whoops. Got to make the strength down on this quite a bit less. All right. And I'm just going to hold Shift and smooth. All right. I'm just trying to get a jaw here. All right. Shift and smooth. And let's see. Then we need to do kind of this temporal area. Let's make this a little bit smaller. A good idea is actually what you see up here. See how they have these planes? It's a good idea when you're thinking about modeling. Do not think about round shapes. Try to find planes, straight areas. Your sculpts will come out a lot better. It'll be a lot easier to see it dimensionally, and it will look a lot nicer. So I suggest doing that. So if I'm looking, so you can see like it's a little bit pointed here. The actual top of the head is actually a bit more of a roof. So it goes like this, and then it goes like this. So it should go kind of like that, like a house. But if you look at mine, he's kind of flat on the top, and then it comes down. So this should actually go like this way. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm going to hold Alt and just kind of cut in a little bit this direction. Like that, just kind of scribble through. That's okay. But you see it's all lumpy, right? So it's been dropped a couple times. I'm just going to hold Shift and smooth that out, right? Most of the time what you want to do is you're going to draw, and then you're going to hold Shift. You're going to draw, and then you're going to hold Shift. So I'm going to hold Alt, and I'm going to draw like this. And then I'm going to hold Shift and smooth it out. That's pretty much what you're going to do almost every time that you draw. All right, so I'm going to hold Alt again here just to kind of cut this down and hold Shift to smooth it out. Okay? Let's make so it's a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to make sure this jawline is a little bit better than what it currently is. Like that, shift, smooth. Draw, hold shift, smooth. I need an ear here, so it's a little bit smaller. And we're just going to go like this. Something like that. All right. Control, shift, control and click and drag, sorry. Just to do the thing there. And let's go underneath. And I'm just going to smooth this down a little. I use smooth just to kind of temper the shapes a little bit. His chin, so I'm just holding smooth as I'm doing most of this. His chin looks a little bit not that great. Okay. Alright. This isn't going to look very good because, you need to take time to make things look good. And I am trying to do this quickly. So, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some eye sockets. So I'm just going to click this. That should be roughly about halfway at the eye. So I'm just going to, or up the head here. So I'm just going to hold Alt and click and click and click. And I'll just kind of keep going in. Let's see what we're doing here. All right, so Alt. All right, like so. And then smooth it out a little bit. We're going to do, I think of it like a Roman helmet where it has like the thing up and around for the brows. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. All right, hold shift to smooth a little bit. Bring that down, and then he's got this mandible and maxilla area, and then usually there's the cheekbones that come around this way too. All right, so you can see it doesn't look real great. Control, click, and drag, but you see it kind of fixes it. So this is what it looked like before. Shift F. So I just got to do Control, click, and drag, and it gives me a little bit more geometry to work with. Okay. Oops, that's not I meant. Shift F. Get out of there. Cancel. Okay. Escape. There we go. What was I doing? Oh, Shift F. I think I hit Control F. I never used that before. Okay, so we can go BMV. Now that I have a little bit more features here. And I'm just going to pull this down because he looks a little bit like he doesn't have enough area here. Okay, let's make this a little bit bigger. I don't want to spend too long on this part because each one of you is going to be different depending on what you're working on. But, okay. So, now at this point, if you look, I don't really have enough resolution to really, like if I want to sculpt a mouth, even if I do this, right, you can see there's only so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Dynamesh, and I'm just going to up it. So let's do 256. And then I'm after I type in that number, Control, click, and drag, and you're going to see, oops, that's not what I meant, Control, click, drag. Come on. Let's just do that. Control, click, drag. All right. I don't know why it's not 256. Maybe I'll just move it a little bit, and I should probably do it. So BST, probably because it didn't change. So let's just make this, we'll just do a little bit of something, and then I'll go like that. Now Control, click, drag. Okay, there you go. So then it gives me a little bit more resolution on Shift F. Okay, so I'm just going to up it a little bit, just so I have enough to basically work with here. So this isn't going to be great, but should hopefully give me something. Take that focal shift and go all the way this way. I'm just going to kind of, oops, try to cut mouth in here. All right, that one looks terrible, so it should be an M, like this. Mouth makes more of like an M shape. All right, Control, click, drag. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit more. Let's get the focal shift back a little bit. Okay, give him a little bit more of a lip here, bottom lip. This looks terrible. Go like this. Nasolabial folds. Alright, just add a little bit there. Okay. Okay, that looks bad, but alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and up this again. So just let's try let's see, I just did we'll do 512. Alright. Control, click, and drag. And let's see. Did that up it? It did. Okay. So now I have lots of resolution to work with, okay? But you don't want to start off too high because then it will be actually kind of difficult to work with. So I'm just going to try now and see if I can get, strength needs to go up a little bit. If I can get this up a little bit better. You're going to notice though, it's going to be harder to get smoother looking forms the higher the resolution that you create. So let's hold Alt and cut this in, smooth that out. Alt and make some nose holes. Okay. God, this looks really bad. Yeah, it's really something. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to. Okay, we're at 15, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, but you're gonna basically sculpt like that, a whole bunch. Do the best that you can, how you can, and then you should be able to get most of what you want through just basically using these things. So use focal shift if you need to do like a tight line, like I did before. Like if I want to make it really pointed, I can, do something. Oh, I think I did the wrong way. Oh, that was the right way. Why is it not? Maybe I gotta take the intensity up. If you want to do a tight line, do something like that. And, just mess around with these things here, the draw size and intensity. That should get you most of what you want, all right? So, you would sculpt the whole guy, and like I said, just keep going up the Dynamesh levels as you're going until you get to the full detail. Even my guy might be a little bit farther than I need to. I'm just trying to get a base mesh, because we actually can't use any of this anyway, because this geometry is horrendous. But once you get that kind of how you want it to look, and you have enough to understand that the computer can understand what the topology should look like, so it can calculate it, then you probably are good. Now, so the next thing I would want to do is basically this. We want to do the ZBrush, okay? Now, if I just click on it and do it, it will do it, and it will do an okay job. But if I want to help it, one thing we can do, I don't remember if I taught you guys this or not, but if you go over here, there's the topology. So BT, click on that, and then I'm going to make my brush super all the way small. And basically what this does is that you can draw curves on the model, and by drawing on the model, it actually gives you you can actually manually create topology with this, but it also uses it as a guide for when it does the Z-remeshing. So I'm going to use this as a guide. Most of the rest of the body's fine. You don't need to put them on there unless there's something particular you're trying to make it look like. But the face, usually, it won't follow the topology of the face correctly. So this topology brush helps quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just click and drag like this. Boom. And now I have an eye. And we can, go around the nose, let's say. And the mouth needs it as well. Right, and then we'll go from here and like that. I don't know if I want to go like this with the cheekbones. We could tell it like, oh, I want the ear to be. This is one of the things where you might want to actually test a bunch of different things. So like do the ZBrush, see what it looks like, and then go back and do it again. So right here is actually a pretty good time to save. So I'm just going to do File, Save As. Because it might crash during this. Anytime you have the computer do any kind of calculations, it's the time that it's going to crash. I'm going to call it ZBrush project because I'm going to delete it after anyway. Saving project file in progress. Come on, baby. You can do it. Come on, computer. There we go. Okay. So now I can do ZBrush. Now the target poly count is this. It's 5 currently. Now, depending on the complexity of your character, this might need to go up or down. This is merely a suggestion, though. It will make its own geometry. So I'm going to put in, let's do 10. So it's going to be 10,000 polys is actually what it's going to be. Then I'm going to click on ZBrush. And then what it's going to do is it's going to calculate the Z remeshing. And I'm going to pause it, and then I will show you what the results look like. So it'll happen instantaneously for you. All right, and just like that, it created my model. Now, if you look, you can see it actually did 20,000. So it saw my 10,000 and goes, nah, how about double? So that's why it's a suggestion. It's not 100%. But if we look at the model, you can see the topology isn't great, but it did definitely try to follow. So you see, it probably put too much concentration on the nose because I told it to do that. The mouth, I actually might do more circles because it's clearly didn't really do as well as I would like. Nothing's ever going to beat manually creating the topology. So if you wanted to do that, what you would want to do is actually probably this first. Then I would take this, send this to Maya, and do a manual retopology on top of this, and then bring that back in here, and then sculpt from there. But with time and what have you, this is going to be good enough for now. Just realize that it's not going to be the best It's not going to be super useful for animation, especially if you have to do anything facial. This is not going to be great for the face, okay? So like I said, you would just, if you wanted to do that, what you would do is just take this, you would export, I think it's export, right? Let me see, export, yeah, OBJ, it'll make an OBJ. Go into Maya, make sure you go to Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager, look for OBJ Export. Make sure that's on, and if it is, then go ahead and just do File, Import whatever this is. You go in there, you do the quad draw tool, draw it out, export it out of there as an OBJ, do a new scene in here, and then you would just do import, and then you would import your OBJ. You just select it, and then it'll show up right here. It'll either show up in here, I can't remember if it shows up here or not. It might just show up here. It might show up here, then what you do is you click on it, and you click and drag it, and then you would hit edit, and then you can start sculpting on it. Okay, so just be aware, if that was another way you want to do it, that's how you're going to go about doing it. But I have a feeling most of you are not going to take the time, because that Re-Topology will take as long as the rest of this is going to take me, just because it's a real manual thing. But personally, I always do that, because I don't like the results of this. Unless I have a reason not to, I don't do it this way. Okay. And they probably wouldn't do it in other places this way. Okay, so we've got that. That guy looks fine. It's not great. So this is one of those things where I might go back and like remove some of them of the topology, or redo the topology curves and things like that. But I'm going to call this good on this video. And then the next one, we're going to just start sculpting it, which really is not going to be all that much to kind of show you. But I'm going to sculpt it out, and then we'll do, I might get to texturing that one too, depending on how long it takes me for the sculpting, because really we're not doing anything more than we've already done. But now we have like our base shape. So imagine I went through and actually sculpted all this and it looked nice. All right.